Hello and welcome to Rantzerker number 9, the nasty ass honey badger.
You so nasty. You so nasty, Allison.
Okay, yeah. Indeed, we are nasty. Joining me today is Dr. Rantzerker.
Hello, it's not a hologram. I'm actually here. Look.
And Kieran Strawn. And we are going to...
Hello!
And we're going to cover Amanda Marcotte's recent loving tribute to the honey badgers.
We're going to cover it in something.
She was so sweet. She was so sweet in that, that it was really a tribute to us.
Definitely. I feel the love and the warmth.
Oh, yeah. And the compassion.
Yes.
And the humanity.
Well, most definitely. Yeah, it was lovely. It was just I actually haven't read it at all, so I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. For all I know, you guys could be being serious and not sarcastic.
I usually when there's like a bet, I'll say I would bet my reputation on that, but not my life. But I wouldn't even bet my reputation on that we're not being sarcastic.
No, neither would I.
Like anything Marcotte writes, it's pretty awful.
Yeah, so how should we do this? Should we just have Mike read out the first missive, the first stanza of the love letter?
I think so. So he's like all linked in with his earbuds and.
Yep.
Okay.
I can hear all things. I can see all things.
Excellent.
I can smell quite a lot of things as well.
Well, you can't see me, and the reason is I'm not very presentable right now.
That's okay.
All right.
You're in your underwear, are you?
No, but I don't know whether I have even, looked at
underwear?
Myself in the mirror today. So, yeah.
Okay. Let's do it. Let's do this thing that we are doing.
All right.
Okay.
Now, I realize Amanda Marcotte is Brooklyn-based, and I tried so hard to come up with a posh, supercilious Brooklyn accent that I don't think is physically possible.
All right.
We're gonna go back to the old supercilious purple mole. Okay. A fond salute to honey badgers, the ladies of auxiliary of online anti-feminism. I'm already fucking this up. Don't care. Jim Ortiz, a senior editor at Mary Claire, pulled on her wellies and rubber gloves and proceeded to write a feature piece on one of the stranger subcultures of the internet, the ladies' auxiliary of the men's rights movement. They don't call themselves the ladies' auxiliary, to be fair. In a rather unwholesome display of subterranean feminist feeling, they call themselves the honey badgers.
Okay. Do you want to say anything to that? I know this is going to be annoying.
Anybody who wants to listen to it can go find my interview with Jen Ortiz from Marie Claire. It's posted on my channel. I recorded it, just like I almost always do, when I'm interviewed by people from the media. And then I uploaded it when Ms. Ortiz's article was published, because I like to save the punchline for after the joke is told, right? For the end of the joke. So. She told this gigantic joke of an article. It wasn't that bad, but it was still pretty biased and still got a lot of things wrong. And then I added my punchline at the end of the joke. So
it's always good. So for those of you who are just tuning in and don't understand the sequence of events, and in fact, I don't really understand them either, I believe I was interviewed by Ortiz. I really doubt that's her name. No,
Ortiz.
Ortiz, sorry. Okay, I mispronounce everything, okay?
Yeah, I know. That's why you have plausible deniability for that.
Yes.
Excellent.
I was trying my best, honestly. Okay, anyway, so Ortiz. I'm pretty sure I was interviewed by her.
That's a better mispronunciation than Wayne Buttafucko.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna turn the video off because it's fucking distracting, and this hat has gotten really hot, and I may end up taking it off.
Okay.
Because it's quite a hot hat.
I don't know how you can hear through all that fur.
It's also quite difficult to hear through the fur as well.
All right.
So in multiple levels, this hat is impeding my ability to continue this broadcast.
Okay.
So, okay. All right. All right. So I believe I was also interviewed by her. I ended up in the article, so I guess that's a safe assumption. I think I also have the interview that she did, in which I think I was also sort of, I think this is the one where I was sort of trolling. I was just giving like really, did you remember listening to this? I sent it to you, right?
I think so, yeah.
I was just giving her really blunt answers to the questions.
Yeah.
Like she would say, well, how do you stop being, I don't know, a victim of patriarchy or some shit? Are you worried about being a victim of patriarchy? And I'm like, no. And I'm not. By not acknowledging, like I'm not. I'm just not.
Like, am I worried about being a victim of like the monster in the closet? No.
Not really.
Not especially.
No.
Are you worried about the wrath of God?
Yeah, you know what? That one actually sometimes keeps me up at night, even as an atheist.
Yeah. Well, I can't actually say that I'm worried about the wrath of God. Maybe his minions, but not really of God. So no, I can't say that. And I'm certainly not particularly worried about being subjugated by the patriarchy. I mean, he's in the kitchen right now making a pumpkin pie, and I don't feel subjugated by him because his pumpkin pie is delicious. What?
He's making you a pumpkin pie? He never made me a pumpkin pie. I love pumpkin pie.
Well, that's because the kitchen that he had access to was shit.
God.
Well, it wasn't shit. It was just he didn't have many ingredients. It was very bare bones. But anyway, so I think I've also had this interview, and I probably should put it up. I'm not entirely sure I'm right that this was the interview that I did with her.
I think that's probably the one.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And then I was being a bit of an ass.
Excellent.
I was having fun with it.
Excellent. You know, I think that there's not enough of that, and I think that honestly, trolling some of these people can be a lot of fun, and it can really sort of put them on their back foot, and they sort of like, oh, what am I even dealing with here?
Yeah, well, she spent a lot of this particular interview sighing, just like, oh. It was like I sort of actually felt really bad for her. I'm like, do you want me to pretend to be a victim for you so you feel like you're not alone in all of this?
Mm.
No, let me just get down to your level and see what it's like in your cage. Oh man, that was really mean. Okay, anyway. But what's funny is I just wanted to pick out some of the things that Amanda Marcotte actually said, and this is the response to Jenny Ortiz.
Jen Ortiz, yeah.
Jen Ortiz. So this is like Inception. This is articleception. This is like the second article, except it's gone through another layer of
translation, feminist translation. It's gone through another feminist lens. So it's like Jen Ortiz's article was really not that bad, right? But this interpretation of Jen Ortiz's article is like abominable. It's
It's like gone through another layer of the feminist digestive tract and had the bile squirted all over it. Anyway.
A couple more layers and it'll be ready for a university syllabus.
Yes.
Or a turd, one or the other.
Flushing or university. Either way. Put a little cap and gown on it. Be good.
Ready,
all right,
but for excretion.
We are ready for emerging into the world. All right, so what I wanted to talk about was the fact that she chose herself, Amanda Marcotte herself, chose us to refer to us as the Ladies Auxiliary. Okay, I'm gonna get a lot of hate mail for this. I don't think we're the auxiliary. I mean, let's be frank. Karen is the largest
Vanguard.
Yeah, not even the vanguard. We're the fucking guard. We are the tip of the spear. Karen is the largest men's rights activist related or issues related channel on YouTube, and Honey Badger Radio is the most popular, I think at this point in time, the most viewed, consistently viewed men's rights group on YouTube. So this is not an auxiliary situation, and I apologize because I know this is like going to rub people the wrong way. The other thing is that I think that these changes, if they are to happen, because I fully acknowledge that the changes that need to happen to recognize men's issues, to bring them to the forefront, to put them into law, to make them a social issue the way they should be, they may never happen. It may end up that we just implode as a society. But if they are to happen, if this change, it's going to come from women. Or it doesn't come from anyone. Because this has to come grounds up from women. And I'll put it right out there. Nobody else in this particular panel has to agree with me. It's just my opinion. It's got to come from women.
You may have noticed whenever it starts with men and they build something up, at some point women come in and say, we can help. And they end up sort of ripping it all apart at the seams, either deliberately or otherwise. So the only way, perhaps it seems, the only way it can work is if it's started by women in the first place.
Well, it's not even just that. It's that in order for this to become a grassroots, to have the grassroots social support and start to work its way into the politics, it has to come from a group of people who are very effective at doing this shit.
Well, and when you have a narrative too, right?
Yeah.
When you have a narrative that women are subjugated by men, that men essentially conspire to, enslave women, you put them in their place, keep them down, keep them, under the boot heel of men, right? And you also have an instinct on the part of pretty much everybody to be outraged and just absolutely viscerally disgusted by the sight of a man hitting a woman under any circumstances, even if he's defending himself, even if she hit him first, whatever. It sticks out to us. It's like there's a thing that we feel that we don't feel when we see men attacking men or women attacking women. So because these women who have essentially launched a 150-year assault on the characters of men, because that's essentially what they've done. A 150-year-long character assassination on men, right? The people who are going to have to hit back can't be men. Because there's no reason, just like Bill Burr says, there's no reason to hit a woman. There's no reason. There is, the hubris involved in that statement that there is never, ever, ever in the entirety of human history, since the universe was created in the Big Bang until we suffer a big crunch or like continue hurtling to infinity, right? Outward, that there would ever, never in the entire, conceivably, never, no conceivable reason to ever hit a woman, for a man to ever hit a woman.
It's inconceivable. It's
inconceivable. Yeah, except for that it's not. But you know what? There's a reason why it's so easy to malign somebody like Rush Limbaugh, when if you actually listen to him, I mean, he's 50% crazy, just like every other pundit on TV, including Bill Maher. 50%, fucked up shit coming out of his mouth. But you look at when he says to Sandra Fluke, right, what you're really wanting is for other people to pay for you to be a slut. Right? I could say that.
But the whole world goes apeshit when he does.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, if you look at it in terms of compassion for men, where can compassion for men come from except from women? And I'm not saying that this is a given, this isn't necessarily what's going to happen. It may end up that our society collapses in a fiery cataclysm of bullshit, but it seems to me that this is we got to thread this needle. We got to get women on board. We got to get them advocating for men's issues and recognizing that not only is compassion for men what we should be doing, it also helps women to get out of the role of fucking damsel, pick up their fucking broadsword and start moving to the front of the fucking ranks.
Yes.
And start swinging. You know, it actually helps our mentality. Because like talking to Jen Ortiz, it was like talking to somebody who is so wedded with this idea that the whole world is pressing down on her like a weight, and wedded to the idea that the only purpose she has in life is to cry for someone else to help her.
Yeah, I know. And who does she cry for? When a man, when the big mean patriarchy is beating her down, who does she call? Patriarchy. She calls 911, patriarchy, the police, the mostly male police force. She goes through the legal system, patriarchy. She lobbies for new laws. Our legislatures, our political system, patriarchy, right?
Yep. And then she says, men, take the position protecting me, and then complains that men aren't in position to protect women, and there are certain societal features that support that, and calls that patriarchy. It's
all patriarchy. It's all
like
patriarchy, Allison.
Yeah, it's like they demand they demand men to protect them from typhoons, and then men erect all the necessary protections to protect women from typhoons, which necessarily doesn't protect women from something else, or maybe restricts their motion, and then they say that's patriarchy, and now I want you to protect me from I don't know what, daytime television,
from the restrictions that are necessary to protect me from the typhoons,
or from mean tweets.
Yeah.
So not only.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Yeah, so not only do women have to join the front line, they actually have to do it voluntarily, because no one's going to force them into it. There's never going to be a draft, either for an actual war or for a metaphorical war. Because that's how patriarchy works. We never force women to do things. So yeah, it's going to have to be a voluntary auxiliary or whatever. Yeah.
All right. So do you want to go a bit further?
Okay. Onward and upward. Or
yeah,
down,
go. Let's
sideways.
Let's move into this and do this thing.
Are we applying the video feed, or is that over now?
I don't have the hat. Okay, you want to do the video feed? Is okay.
All right. Pick up where I left off.
Sure. Yes, indeed.
Like their male counterparts, they claim to be champions of that beaten-down underclass known as men, whom they champion mostly by screaming vitriol at feminists. Vitriol! Right. A difficult.
all right, Karen. I think did you want to address this, or should we move on?
Do I scream vitriol? Do I? I mean, like sometimes I get a little hot under the collar, but I don't name call. I don't. Well, very rarely name call. I very rarely just completely write off what somebody says. Like I don't do drive-by comments that consist of one sentence that may even be one word, like bullshit or tosh or pish or, or fuck you, or, I don't do that. I don't just come onto a comment thread and say, you're wrong, right? I mean, I spend a lot of time and a lot of energy meticulously crafting comments that express an argument and provide evidence for that argument, right? In a very civil way. Like, I don't, even with Naomi Wolf, sitting on a stage with Naomi Wolf, right? Who was the one who started spitting vitriol? What, you're a rape apologist now?
So that's not vitriol. That's just accuracy.
A big, huge F-bomb, right? The commenters kept saying, the moment you drop an F-bomb, you've lost the debate, right? That was her, not me. I was calm and measured throughout. Who was spewing vitriol when I was doing an interview with Cenk Uygur? Who was the one spitting vitriol? Was it me who was saying, well, yes, but you have to consider the context, and then him going, yada, yada, Karen, yeah, give me a thank you for the suffragettes or stop voting and make me a ham sandwich.
Ham.
Yeah, I know, and he's Muslim too. What the hell?
No, but I just say he's also a ham.
That?
And I don't mean that in terms of fat shaming. I mean that he's hammy.
Yeah, hamming it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like who is expressing all of this vitriol? Like, I know that there are some men in this movement who are quite.
Well, I mean, with Judgy can be a bit much.
Judgy can be extremely brutal in her rhetoric. Yes.
Okay, there you go. That's probably where it's coming from.
Well, I scream vitriol at feminists all the time, but you'll never hear feminists linking to me and saying, here's proof that MRA scream vitriol at feminists, because I also say interesting and entertaining things, and we can't afford the public to hear those entertaining and interesting things.
No, you really can't.
Okay, let's. I mean, you can't expect them to be honest, and I probably I'm the one who's screaming the vitriol.
I don't think so. I don't know that I've ever really heard you, like maybe a few times you've raised your voice, but I mean, it's not vitriolic.
Yeah, well, let's.
I've been teaching you the fine art of screaming vitriol at feminists, so you can blame it all on me and the vitriol.
It's your fault, Doctor. Yeah. Get the fuck out.
Or read the fuck on.
But read the fuck on is what I meant to say.
All right. Speaking of Judgy. Quote, a difficult relationship with her mother showed her that women are human, end quote. Ortiz writes of Janet Bloomfield, a prominent honey badger.
Okay, well, they're referring to the older nickname for all women who are part of the men's rights movement as honey badgers. So that's just, what it is.
It's like Kleenex and Kleenex.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, she's a generic Kleenex. We're the brand name Kleenex. So no, but I mean, like she's a Scotties, which I actually prefer to Kleenex, by the way. But I still call them Kleenexes, right? So it's just a difference between a brand name and a generic term.
Yeah.
Q-tips too, very very much. Nobody calls them cotton swabs, even if they buy a different brand.
Yeah, that's a.
All right. In other words, a woman has the capability to be just as terrible, or presumably as not terrible, as a man. It's true. Women can indeed be hateful and cruel and toxic, just like men can be.
We know, Amanda. We know that you can be cruel and hateful and toxic. We know that women can be just as terrible as any man because we have you leading by example.
Okay.
You are probably the most vitriolic, toxic, hateful, angry, bitter excuse for a human being I have ever come across. I read your material, I read your articles, and I think to myself, who can sustain this level of hostility consistently without having a fucking infarction or an aneurysm? How are you still alive?
Your hatred has reached maximum concentration.
It's over 9,000, right? And it's just like, and over the most trivial fucking things. Cooking a home-cooked meal. You know what? Cooking's a pain in the ass. I have to do it every fucking night, right? Cooking dinner for a family of 5. I do this every fucking night, and I hate it, but I do it because you know what? Everybody has to do things that irritate them. Everybody has to do things that they don't like. You have to pay the NSF fee when you bounce a check. You have to pay the ticket when you park your car illegally. You have to walk a long distance when the parking lot is full and all of the meters have those sleeves on them because it's rush hour, right? You have to do things that you hate all the time. Life is full of inconveniences. Life is full of having to accommodate the existence of a world around you that was not designed specifically for you and your convenience, because there are other people in it who also have needs and also have things to do, right?
Wow. What an incredible mindset. Like,
honestly, like, cooking family dinner is oppressive? Fine. Order fucking takeout, you privileged white bitch who writes for Slate.
Well, it's just like, how does that mentality develop? The world doesn't serve me enough.
Oh my God. It's like, this is all I see from them now, right? This is all I see from Western feminists now. Like third world feminists, they at least have a point on some major issues, like, uh, being stoned to death for adultery is not just a minor inconvenience for either the woman or the man who gets stoned to death, right? I can see that there are real pressing problems affecting the men and the women in those societies, right? And that there needs to be some kind of redress and addressing of those problems and ameliorating of them, right? But when what we're talking about in the West is men sitting with their knees apart on the subway, and not how it's inconvenient, but how it's an expression of patriarchal dominance that men do specifically, maybe subconsciously, but specifically to keep women in their place. I think we've entered fucking la la land. I think we've entered the age of my solipsism is now a mental illness. It has now completely impacted and impeded my ability to deal with everyday life. If I think that guy sitting the way that it's comfortable for him to sit on the subway is him intentionally oppressing me, even on a subconscious level, even if he's just doing it, it's part of patriarchy. It's part of the system that keeps women subjugated. It's part of his expression of male dominance in public spaces to make women make themselves smaller. Like, I'm sorry. You could a lunatic picked randomly out of the fucking halls of a mental institution would say that.
Okay.
Only he would call that guy Judas Iscariot, and he'd call himself Jesus, and everybody would know he's crazy.
I know. It's sad that there is no depths of self-victimization that any woman can't
manage to actually pull off. She can manage to actually pull off and make it play prime time.
Yeah, I know. Nobody ever calls them out on it. It's like, no.
Oh.
Your pee, princess, is only a nano pee. It is not perceptible by...
And it wasn't stuck there intentionally by anybody wanting to deprive you of a good night's sleep. It was just there randomly. It's a speck of dust under your mattress.
Yeah, and you put it there yourself.
Happens to be there.
You peed the bed.
You peed the bed, bitch.
Yeah.
Oh
my God! But we're spilling we're spewing vitriol over the notion of finding ever increasingly tiny peas underneath your mattress. I mean, this could be like a contest. How small? What is the smallest unit of victimhood?
What's the smallest inconvenience that can be turned into patriarchal oppression?
Yeah, what is the smallest? What is the indivisible victimhood particle?
My browser took too long to load. Patriarchy.
Ugh.
My computer wasn't that fast. It was only that fast. Patriarchy.
My foot fell asleep. Patriarchy.
Definitely patriarchy.
The order tracking isn't working on the pizza delivery place, so now I don't know when to put my pants on. Patriarchy.
I just want to see your ass. It's double patriarchy.
Oh my goodness.
But no, we should maybe there could be like a science grant to find the fundamental particle.
Yes.
What do we call it? The victimtonium? No, let's see,
okay, so we got neutrinos, we got quarks, we got
Higgs boson. So it would be like the
feminist boson.
The quin Sark. This quin Sark.
Yeah, maybe. No.
Quin Sark.
I know. I actually like the idea of the boson because it's still not necessarily real. They found evidence that suggests that they found it, but they haven't actually found it.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the fundamental particle of victimhood, the smallest unit of victimhood that people will credibly accept as victimhood.
The Quinn's boson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the Quinn's boson or the Sark boson.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. We should do a grant. We start like getting some feminists together and accelerating them to near the speed of light, and having them collide. And maybe we can, from the resultant.
I would actually really like to see two feminists collide at the speed of light.
Yeah, but I wonder. I mean, because they're quite massive, so. I mean, obviously they're not going to be
We
covered.
wouldn't want to unintentionally cause a singularity that swallows up the Earth, right? All right.
The limits of science are very dangerous.
Oh.
Okay, all right. Let's move on. This has gotten sort of silly.
It has.
Ortiz shares some tasty examples, such as a Honey Badger blog post titled "Going Mental, She Might Be a Crazy Bitch If," red flags, or a post that read, "Ladies, there is a difference between flirting and cock teasing. One makes you fun and sassy, the other makes you a cunt, so stop doing it." There simply isn't enough space in any magazine to demonstrate just how much misogynist venom pours out of the ladies who hate ladies.
Okay, all right. That sounds like the headlines of a typical Cosmo, except with the genders reversed.
And they wouldn't use the word cunt. Those were Judgy Bitches articles, I believe. And I actually quite like her articles. So I mean, she's pretty harsh, but she's always got something interesting to say. So
there you go. Well, the thing is, I'd like to institute the Cosmo standard of misogyny. If you reverse the genders and it could play as a Cosmo article, don't fucking talk about it. Don't fucking talk about it. Like, yeah, fair enough. But Cosmo would use the word dick or prick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or,
so,
jerk or asshole or whatever, right?
Or hell, I mean, you could even up the ante and say, if you could reverse the genders and it'd play as a fucking Jezebel article or a Slate article, there you go.
Yeah.
You don't get to complain about it. It's not misogyny. All right. I'm calling it.
All right.
Okay.
Take, for instance, ringleader Karen Strawn, who runs a YouTube channel under the name Girl Writes What.
I'm surprised she didn't call me Mafia Boss Karen Strawn.
Oh my God! Let me kiss your ring, Karen.
I don't want to be a ringleader. I want like actual status. A ringleader is just like the head of the riffraff. I want like status and immunity. I want to be like the Pol Pot of the men's rights movement.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dawn Karen. Dawn Karen.
Dawn Karen Leone.
Dawn Karen Leone. Okay, where do we bring our tribute?
Keep going, Mike. Keep going.
All right. Who runs a YouTube channel under the name Girl Writes What, where she posts videos explaining that men are oppressed by women.
I don't know that I've ever said that.
I don't know that anyone's ever said that in the men's rights movement.
There are people in the men's rights movement who talk about men being oppressed, right? And I always hesitate to use the word oppression, even when we're talking about legal inequalities. I hesitate to use the word oppression because it's a very strong word, and it should be kept for things like, I don't know, institutionalized slavery, right? So I would call the draft oppression of men. I would call child support or jail, that choice. Child support for a child you didn't plan to have, didn't give your consent to have, and that 15-year-old boy, 14-year-old boy who was raped by a 35-year-old woman and is now paying child support out of his fucking paper route, I would consider that oppression, right? There are other words that are more accurate than oppression. And nobody is suggesting that men are oppressed by women as a class. What they're suggesting is women have much more power as a class, as a political bloc, as a social bloc, essentially, than most people actually realize. And so women are not oppressed. Women are, so by saying women are not oppressed by men, it's like this switch flips in these people's heads, because somebody's got to be oppressing somebody. So if women aren't oppressed by men, then we must be claiming that men are being oppressed by women.
Yeah, if there isn't a conspiracy of men against women, then there must be a conspiracy of women against men, because there's no way this universe has no massive gender-based conspiracies going on. We can't handle such a universe.
You know, like it's not like it's entirely plausible that men and women have worked out a system of trade-offs all through history that essentially get what they need, you know, to essentially get what they need out of the system, right? While providing some benefit for the other side to keep the other side providing what they need, right? And oh my goodness, and it was just kind of all a system of trade-offs, right? It couldn't possibly be that. It couldn't possibly be that that any inkling of a gender war, right, occurs at a very sort of individual biological level where, you know, sometimes there are issues, you know, with a single man trying to override a woman's autonomy and her reproductive agency, and or a single woman trying to do that with a man, right? It's not as if society has grown up around, I mean, this idea that men and women are complementary to one another, right? No. Complementary. Fuck that. Oppressor and oppressed. That is the only model. That is the only thing we see. We see oppression and we see oppressors. We see oppressed people and we see people who do the oppressing. That's all we see. There's no such thing as a cooperative mating strategy. There's no such thing as cooperation between individuals. There's no, it's all based on oppression.
Yep. It can't be a dynamic. Even a dynamic that's toxic and doesn't really work anymore.
Yeah.
It can't be something that just sort of happened. Somebody has to be the blame.
That was adaptive at one time, but no longer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's now maladaptive because the environment's changed. That couldn't be it. No. It couldn't be that, oh yes, we did need to see some changes to the system because the system didn't fit the environment anymore. And men and women were feeling like they were trapped in a system that didn't suit their needs. No, none of that was true. It was all men oppressing all women through all of history. Full stop, done.
And if that isn't true, then it's all women oppressing all men. It's like, you know, I think what they're doing is they're trying to throw the most difficult to defend position and say that's our position. Because, you know, it doesn't sound as difficult. When we talk about it, it's like, you know, it's a dynamic, it's toxic. In some instances, it really hurts men. In some instances, I also think it hurts women because this can't be healthy. This micro fucking victimhood, this search for your own complete uselessness.
Well,
like,
I can't imagine
race to the bottom.
I can't imagine Amanda Marcotte is a happy woman. And if you look at people like Simone de Beauvoir, right? 2 suicide attempts? Right? 2 suicide attempts.
Yeah, but that's not, you know, like, people have mental illness, but it doesn't seem like feminism really encourages getting out of that. Because a lot of people say, you know, if you do overcome a mental illness, a lot of it is learning not to exteriorize blame for what you're dealing with. Yeah. Take control over what you can take control over, which progressively turns out to be more and more. But let's, Mike.
Right. There we go. She recently did an Ask Me Anything at Reddit where she dropped bon mots such as, a woman has to be more emotionally stable than 85% of women to be as emotionally stable as the average man. And a rapist is a...
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, Mike.
What?
I stopped you and then I turned off the mic, and that was the stupidest thing. I turned off the mic as I told Mike to turn off. All right. But anyway. But, okay. Women have a defense apparently in law for their hormones against being tried for murder.
Yes.
If you want to have that defense, if you want to be able to say, then don't say that you're more emotionally mature or more emotionally stable than men. Either
Yeah,
you get
or
the
as
defense.
emotionally stable as men. Don't say, how dare you imply that if a woman was president, she'd have her finger hovering over that big red candy-colored nuclear weapon button, right? 3 days out of the month. Don't you dare fucking complain when people suggest that women would not be trustworthy in those types of roles. If you're going to then turn around and say, this woman should be excused for strangling her own baby with her thong panties and throwing it over the fence to try to frame her boyfriend, right? For the murder. And, oh, it was just hormones. Oh, it was just her emotional state.
Okay,
Yeah, no.
when there's no excuse, when there's no, oh, she was on the rag, or oh, she's postpartum depression, or oh, whatever else you come up with. Oh, anything that doesn't end with, yeah, suck it up.
Yeah, it's her fault.
It's her fault. When women are held to that standard, then you can say it's bad to say that women aren't equally emotionally, because they're not held to the same standard.
Yeah, but even if women were held to the same standards as men, it would probably still remain true that women on the whole will be less, in aggregate, will be more sensitive and less emotionally stable than men. These are broad global sex differences. The difference in sensitivity, right, is the biggest sex difference out there. And when you remove that, right, when you take there's only a 10% overlap, let's remove the biggest difference, sensitivity. Oh, we still only have a 24% overlap between the personalities of men and women, right? These differences, they are often responses to the exact same thing, right? Oh, external dangers in your environment. What do women feel? Apprehension. What do men feel? Vigilance.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like this. Like, we don't have to go and tear the whole world apart because there are sex differences.
Yeah.
Let's Mike has been waiting patiently to be called upon.
Okay, I do want to know what I said about rape.
Oh, yes. Mike said that I had to turn the mic on, and he was indeed correct.
Yeah.
You're not used to doing it with 2-on-1, Mike.
No, I'm not.
Right. Okay. And a rapist is a very damaged man, usually damaged by women, or a man who really, really, really wants sex but can't convince a woman to willingly lie down with him. Those poor rapists.
Okay, can I take this one, Karen?
Yes, you may.
Okay, Amanda, look at the statistics. Men who rape are not just, they are emotionally damaged. Not only are they psychologically different than other men, they're more likely to engage in abuse of animals, abuse of children, abuse of the people around them than other men. They are also more likely to have been sexually abused. This is not to say that all sexually abused men go on to rape, but a minority do. And that minority is usually abused by women. There's an incredibly high rate of sexual abuse by women in the history of what they call sexually aggressive and rapist men. Very, very high. So this is a fact. Where do you think the anger comes from? Where do you think it comes from?
Where do you think the inability to conceptualize the idea of personal boundaries comes from?
Yeah, and when they did a study of sexually abused boys and youths, the ones who went on to abuse themselves were abused by women, or they were neglected in other ways. For the most part, those were the two biggest risk factors. So yeah, rapists are often abused by women, or sexually abused by women.
And I want to actually qualify the word neglect, right? Because neglect is when you're talking about child neglect, you're not generally talking about a woman like maybe a single mother who just doesn't have the time. She's working 3 jobs. She doesn't have the time to supervise her kids. Her kids get up to her 9-year-old is surfing porn while she's out or whatever, right? Or she's not able to keep up with her responsibility to her children, right? What neglect generally refers to is something called targeted neglect. And what you can have, and what often happens in certain households, is that you have 3 very well taken care of children, and another one, in really extreme cases, being kept in a fucking dog kennel because he reminds her of his dad.
Yeah, that's it. Neglect is targeted. It's an active form of abuse. I know that. There's another lovely thing about feminists is they try to squirm out of the idea that women are the primary abusers by saying, well, neglect doesn't count. Well, neglect does count because it's an active
if you
form of
have 3
abuse.
well-dressed kids who are going to school every day, and you have one that you're keeping in a fucking kennel and feeding him freaking not even name brand dog food, right? And you're beating it, you know, and you're not giving him books to read or anything to do.
Well, not
right?
beating, just a neglect,
Yeah,
right?
just you know, confining him and like, oh no, you can stay in there because you remind me of your dad.
Yeah, that's an active form of abuse. And no matter how much abuse apologia that feminists create simply to hide the fact that women do the majority of child abuse, that's the only reason why they use this.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the fact that neglect is an active form of abuse. All right.
I don't fully understand why she's got to be in her bonnet that we're saying rapists are damaged. I mean, the same goes for women. If a woman's a rapist, it's because she's damaged. I mean, imagine saying no, completely healthy women rape all the time, and that's what she doesn't like, because she wants to maintain the principle that raping is something that normal men do.
It's just what men do. That's what she wants to perpetuate. It's just what men do. And not only that, but it's not a pathology. It's a behavior that is encouraged, endorsed, and normalized in patriarchal cultures, right? So it is essentially, rapist is synonymous with manhood to her.
Okay.
It's a product of patriarchal masculine norms. It is synonymous with manhood.
All right, let's move on. There's a long paragraph where she's quoting you here. I guess I'll do it in my normal voice. Domestic violence is also a woman's fault, according to Strawn, because victims need it for sexual arousal. Quote, I used to live under a young couple with a baby. I'd listen as she followed him from room to room, upstairs, stomping, slamming things, throwing things, screaming. After about an hour, he'd eventually hit her and everything would go quiet. An hour after that, they'd be out with the baby in the stroller, looking perfectly content with each other. A man I know who has experience with men in abusive relationships would get his clients to answer a questionnaire. Things like, after the violence, did you have sex? If so, how would you rate the sex? 100% of men in reciprocally abusive relationships said yes to the first and scorching to the second. He also posited that the much-quoted cycle of violence, the build-up, the explosion, the honeymoon period, correlates with foreplay, orgasm, and post-coital bliss. Morale! Surely we're all getting turned on just thinking about men beating women.
I know. It's necessary. It's absolutely 100% necessary for every single person in the world to beat their freaking wives in order to get turned on. No.
Okay,
no.
well, the other thing
because
is...
again, these are damaged people. If she actually was interested in all of this stuff, right, she would realize that what Aaron Pitsey found out long ago is applicable here, right? These are damaged people who have learned from exposure to their parents beating on each other when they were children that's how men and women relate to each other. That's how men and women show their love for each other. I love you so much. I'm just so passionate. It's like Bill Burr said, I'm just so passionate I couldn't help myself, right? Mm-hmm. So I hit you. Yeah, it's just that I'm so passionate. I love you so much.
The other thing is that she completely doesn't pick up on the fact that this is a situation where one party is being abused.
Yeah.
Until the other party abused
is
to the
made
point,
to stop.
Yeah, well, not just that, not made to stop. The woman in your scenario is abusing the man.
Yeah.
She's literally trying to get him to hit her because that's her kink. So instead of actually being a responsible, she obviously enjoys bondage, BDSM.
Yeah.
Instead of actually being responsible about her desires, she's forcing him into a situation of fulfilling her desires against his will through abuse. I don't even know how the fuck she got concerned about the abuser in this scenario. I mean, once you're abusing someone to try to get them to fulfill your sexual desires, I think that everything that happens after that is pretty damn sick on the part of the woman. Like you're gonna abuse your male partner to the point where he does something against, like he's forced to do something against his will. He doesn't want to actually engage in a sexual act he doesn't want to actually do. And we are concerned about the woman doing this.
Yeah, I know.
What the fuck?
What's hilarious is that on Free Thought blogs, right? Because of course this particular comment that I left in what I, and I did not put tons of qualifiers in there. I did not put tons of caveats in there. I did not put, I'm not condoning this, but this seems to be what happens, right? I didn't put it because I figured I think it was in the subreddit FemRA, right? So I figured it was in friendly territory that I was saying this, right? And I didn't have to explain myself or put all these caveats and qualifications on everything that I was saying. And so this comment it's been reproduced on feminist blogs over and over and over again to show that I condone men beating their wives and all kinds of shit like that, right? And essentially on Free Thought blogs in the comments, there was, and I went in and I sort of clarified what I meant, right? And then there was somebody there who said to me, I bet you'd never watched them interacting, did you ever think that maybe that time that you guys went out for coffee and she was, being, cringing, into herself and not speaking unless he asked her, her opinion and all of this, like, and I'm thinking, like, did you even read my comment? This is a woman who would spend an hour, right? An hour, sometimes longer, screaming at her man, throwing things at him, hitting him, following him from room to room without allowing him to escape the situation, all while he begged her to calm down. Let's talk about it later, okay? Let's not deal with this now. Okay, let's deal with it later. Okay. Somehow you're trying to tell me that woman is living in terror of her abusive husband. That woman is afraid to speak without his permission. Are you like? And then somebody else who was a regular commenter on Free Thought blogs. Okay, he was a regular popular commenter. And he made a comment talking about his grandparents. And he said, I have a really hard time with your take on this because here's what my grandfather had to endure. He would come home from working 10, 12, 14 hours, right? And the moment he walked in the door, my grandmother would start in on him. And she would call him the most belittling names. She would scream at him. She would tell him he was worthless. She would tell him he was useless. She would tell him he was a piece of shit, right? And eventually, after hours and hours and hours of this, sometimes he would hit her. And you know what all of these people who condemn me on Free Thought blogs said to him? It was your grandmother who was the abuser.
Well, I mean, it's actually really sick because
it's
messenger, in their scenario, they're failing to pick up. I mean, you could even go so far. He's not just abuse victim. She's forcing him to have sex and physically forcing him.
Yes.
Into sex that he obviously is uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
What's that R word that feminists really like, except in circumstances in which, potentially it's the man?
Regression.
Rape.
Recess. Rectal fortitude.
Rhododendron.
Rhododendron. All right,
Okay.
Mike, take us through the next paragraph because I think there's like a ton left, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
it's not.
It goes on forever. Just a big, huge stream of vitriol.
It's not long, but it's very interruptible. Okay. Ortiz also interviews Janet Bloomfield, who goes under the name Judgy Bitch, author of the cock-teasing post. Bloomfield wrote a post in 2013 in which she defended Jimmy Savile, the British entertainer who's been accused of sexually assaulting 500 minors and even dead bodies. So basically, the girls were groupies, Bloomfield wrote of the teenage victims. They wanted all the benefits of hanging out with a big star, and they understood it came with a price, and they paid it, perhaps reluctantly, but with full knowledge that the trips to London weren't free. And now they're claiming the men abused them? Looks like it was the other way around, she added. It is worth noting that Savile also abused boys, which is an issue men's rights activists claim they want to raise more attention and concern about.
I'm not really familiar with this.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I don't know enough about the Jimmy Savile case. Of course I've heard of it, but I haven't looked into it. It sounds a lot like sort of a Bill Cosby, Michael Jackson hybrid.
But you know what? I don't really care. First of all, because it's an isolated incident. We're talking about when we talk about, sorry, Amanda Marcotte, we have bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
And like one individual. We're talking about systematic epidemic rape of boys in juvenile detention facilities that in 1 year at least matches the number who have come forward about clergy abuse. And it's about 12,000 since the 50s that have come forward about clergy abuse and boys. That's about a year's worth of boys abused in a juvenile detention facility by female staff. We got bigger fucking fish to fry than one salacious story about one potentially allegedly abusive guy in the entertainment industry.
Well, and on top of that, right? She'll say, of course, that, oh, well, but it was because of his fame and because of his power that his abuse was covered up. Well, welcome to the fucking club. Hillary's a member.
Well, all of the completely non-famous and not rich women who are abusing boys in juvenile detention facilities are club members, and they're club members because they got vaginas.
But you look at Hillary Clinton. You look at Hillary Clinton. More and more eyewitnesses are coming forward, right, to essentially chronicle her history from the moment she set foot in the White House as the First Lady, right, all the way up to today, right? Her absolutely egregious physical and verbal abuse of her husband, to the point where one of his aides told the press that he'd cut his neck shaving, right? And then when she saw the scratch on his neck, she's like, I should not have said that because nobody's going to buy it, right? Her abuse of Secret Service agents who were devoted to her husband's protection and her own, right? Her verbal and physical abuse of them. Her verbal abuse of female assistants and aides and people that she works with, right? But we don't talk about that, right? Yeah, no, here is a wealthy, powerful woman whose lifetime of abusing other people, including her husband, is just covered up because, hey, you know, we don't want to, that's just like a whole bunch of problems talking about it.
Okay, well, here's another one. Like, just to go back to what I brought up, if tens of thousands of girls were being sexually abused in juvenile detention facilities, they're basically being trapped in with the people abusing them who have complete control over their lives. Do you think that we would never hear about it?
Yeah.
No. The reason why we don't hear about these juvenile boys being basically turned into fucking sex slaves in our institutions is because people turn a blind eye to the women who are doing it. And they do that because they're women. So this rich fuck, if he did what he's alleged, he's unspeakable. He's a monster. If he did what he was alleged. And these women are also monsters. And yet they're not rich, they're not wealthy, They're prison guards. And they get away with it. And why do they get away with it, Amanda? Because of you. They get away with it because of feminists like yourself who suck all of the air out of the room with your victimhood, with your victim mongering.
Yeah.
And we want to deny the fact that women are aggressors because somehow recognizing that women can be evil or cruel
or human,
I don't know. I guess it makes them less good at identifying peas underneath their mattresses.
Or it makes them less useful when you want to march them out in front of people and say this woman had a pea under her mattress.
Yeah.
Now do something about it. Patriarchy.
Yeah, this pea is a war against women. It's like,
yeah.
fuck. I mean, could you imagine? Yeah. Could you imagine the headlines, Karen? If it was
this pea is a war against
girls.
Women. Now do something about it. Patriarchy.
Yeah. Can you imagine the headlines that there would be across the United States if it was 10,000 girls a year being abused, sexually abused by male guards?
Even by female guards.
Yeah,
even by female guards, there would be more outrage over it.
Yeah, and this is something that nobody gives a shit because this fucking mafia, feminism, has cornered the fucking market in the victimhood goods.
Yeah. No, it's a nice shop you have here. Shame if something happened to it.
And they can't recognize women as aggressors because then they become less good to pimp out as victims. All right.
Yeah. So if you feel like getting away with rape, you have two options: either be a woman or work for the BBC.
There you go.
That's why I gave up my dream of working for the BBC. But moving on.
Or your dream of being a woman?
Yes. That dream was dead in the hole as soon as I was born. So to speak. Okay.
Yeah, you're too tall to actually pass, too. So
no, he's not.
He's pretty. He's like
the big hands though. It's the big hands and the big feet.
Let me see.
It's the height that I think would.
Yeah, you can't hide that.
Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah, you can dress up your face.
And Ellison doesn't have.
You can shave all your hair off.
I don't have small hands. So.
I mean, Ellison is a small woman, but she doesn't have small hands. She's like me. She's got man hands. It's like
I do have fairly large hands for a female, and fairly large feet. So I'm sort of
especially
like a spider monkey.
Especially for a female your size, and me too. Like giant fucking hands.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway. Bloomfield has lots of colourful opinions about how women should be imprisoned if they have a child without the father's explicit consent, and that black women resent and hate their sons.
Okay, I don't think I want to answer for Janet's opinions.
Yeah, no, I have the feeling that the first one was a thought experiment, right?
I don't want to answer for them, mostly because not necessarily that I don't think they're unanswerable or they're indefensible, but they're just, I don't know the context.
I have the feeling that she wasn't actually advocating for women to be imprisoned if they have a child without a man's consent. I think she was actually engaging in a thought experiment.
Are you saying
a comparison of male and female reproductive rights?
Are you saying she was infiltrating?
I'm saying she was probably doing a gender reversal.
No, but she was infiltrating her blog.
Infiltrating.
Posing as Janet Bloomfield.
Yeah.
Are you picking it up?
Anyhow, what was the next one that she said?
It was black women resent and hate their sons.
They do. A lot of them do.
Yeah, this is entirely possible.
I've talked to enough guys like Tommy Sotomayor. I have had enough black men message me. Pretty much every time I talk about what's going on in the black community with fatherlessness and everything else, right? What happens is I get bombarded with, really nasty feedback from white people and black people saying, thank God somebody's talking about this, right? Thank you so much, right? And particularly black men. what a lot of black men now grew up with as, you know, children of single mothers was hearing about, and we talked about this when we had Tommy on last week, hearing about how your father ain't nothing. Your daddy ain't nothing. He's useless. He's worthless. He's a scumbag, you know, and I don't need a man. I had to raise you on my own. I don't need no man, blah, blah, blah. And what that boy is hearing is that half of who he is a piece of shit.
Mm.
Right?
Okay.
And so essentially, I have no doubt that there is among a lot of black men the sense that their mothers resent them. She resents them for looking like their dad. She resents them for their dad having left.
All right. We're going to carry on.
Oh my God, my dog.
All right. She also enjoys taking her anti-feminism to a personal level by harassing people online. Why you weren't raped your whore, reads one charming tweet she sent someone. She also has a special love for harassing the feminist writer Jessica Valenti by making up fake quotes, mostly man-hating stuff, e.g. let's destroy men's happiness, and attributing them to Valenti.
I don't think that's harassment. That is actually political satire, I believe.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff that she's actually had her account suspended over was her actually quoting actual stuff written in The Guardian by Jessica Valenti.
Mm-hmm. But
she'll pick a sentence and she'll quote it. That's like me saying that Free Thought Blogs harassed me for quoting my comment and talking about it.
I don't think they've ever harassed me. Because it's all about me.
Free Thought Blogs hasn't harassed you?
Well, they might have. I don't actually.
Well, what the fuck are you waiting for? What the hell?
This is actually the first time I've ever even read an Amanda Marcotte article. And it's not even, it's with you guys, so I guess it's sort of like reading it by proxy.
Yeah, no, it's actually a much nicer experience when you have like people that you can stop and
bullshit.
Pick apart everything that's so egregiously wrong with it. It's much more difficult. I mean, like honestly, I have to give it to some YouTubers out there. Teal Deer's one, Vernaculus is one, Sargon of Akkad is one, right? Even Justicar, who doesn't really put out a whole lot of content, but it's usually decent, right? But they will actually take the articles that I just can't take them just as they are, right? And break them up, and they prevent me from like
chewing the inside of your skull?
Yeah, smashing my head with my computer or smashing my computer with my head at some point reading them, because they break them up and they point out most of the stuff that I find really, really awful and ridiculous and completely bullshitty and false about those articles or those videos, right?
And so then you have these when you're doing it with us.
And these I mean, because you only have to digest like 3, and then you can have your say, and it's okay.
Or you can listen to me have my say.
Yes.
Okay. Go for it.
All right. There's so much more, but I've also run out of space. Intriguingly and confusingly for us feminists, once we get past the trolling, there are actual not crazy changes men's rights activists want to see. Prohibiting circumcision of baby boys, domestic abuse aid for male victims, refining paternity rights, end quote, autis rights. This is the only misfire in an excellent piece.
Oh my God.
Any recognition at all of many men's issues is the only fucking misfire, huh? Oh, that's rich. I wonder if Amanda is sharpening the knives for Jenny Ortiz.
Oh God.
You misfired, Jen.
Yeah.
You're the next person face down on the floor with a gun to the back of your head.
You dared to acknowledge that men are human beings worthy of compassion. You know, within this really narrow framework that you have, you could actually glimpse, like through the little peephole, right? The little peephole, you could actually glimpse a couple of men's issues that looked like they were legitimate to you. You are fucking dead
Done.
to the sisterhood. Done. Yeah, that's it. There's no coming back for this, Jen, from this. There's no redeeming yourself.
Yeah.
You're
You got the scarlet letter on you.
Yeah, the scarlet letter of a, not for adultery, but for anti-feminist.
Well, as a, like men's rights activist. You got the scarlet MRA. You've acknowledged the possibility that women aren't the ultimate victim sink in the whole universe.
Yeah,
It's funny. It's
no.
like,
In every single situation, a woman is a victim. You know, you're actually at the point where you can acknowledge that a woman who makes a false accusation of rape against her husband during a divorce proceeding and then takes out a fraudulent restraining order against him and gets custody of the kids in the house, and then it's 6 months before it's all sorted out that he didn't do anything, but you don't get punished for lying, and then you end up, because you've had custody for 6 months, you know what, we're just going to keep things the way they are, and we're just going to like give you full custody of the kids, and we acknowledge that you've been teaching your children to unreasonably fear and hate their father, so we're going to like just try and figure in some supervised visitation for him to see if into some kind of reunification schedule. Okay, but for now, because you have the kids and we couldn't give them to a man they've been unreasonably taught to fear and hate and distrust, right? Because that would be traumatic for them. We're going to make sure that he pays for, you know, for all of your expenses. And he's also going to pay for your legal fees, right? Which you know, needed to spend to accuse him of rape falsely. And okay, and so you got everything you wanted, right? Got everything you wanted, and you're not going to be punished for it, because to financially penalize you would deprive the children of money, and to, you know, in the settlement, and to put you in prison would actually really traumatize the children, because, you know, you've taught them to unreasonably fear and hate their father, and so there's, you know, we don't want them to lose two parents, and so you get everything you want, even though you broke the law, even though you perjured yourself, even though you abused process, right? You get everything you want, and he has to pay, right? And Jen Ortiz, you've actually maybe realized that the cause of all of that isn't systemic misogyny.
it's like, yeah, it's the moment when a feminist looks at her tiny little pea in her hand and looks at the boulder over there,
crushing that guy,
and says, ooh, maybe I'm not being crushed by this tiny pea. Maybe I've actually had my entire psyche distorted to make this me think that this is as bigger than the boulder crushing that guy over there. Perspective. Perspective. That's the one thing that feminists do not want women to get, is perspective.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
Well, and the thing is that any kind of public airing of men's issues, any kind of rational, civil, public discourse on men's issues would give women that perspective. They would actually, it's exactly like you have said on numerous occasions, you cannot measure the situation for women in terms of equality, right? Without also considering the situation for men, right? And so feminists have to actually essentially say, there is no situation for men. There is no situation for men that should or deserves to be measured, because they know that if we actually measured it, and if we actually made the public aware of it, right, people would no longer be able to hold to this bizarre notion that women are second-class citizens.
Nope. Well, then the other thing is that women wouldn't also be weighed down by this bizarre notion that everything has to be a P.
Well, that every P is a boulder, right?
Yeah.
Like I just what drives me crazy. It really is, like I said before, that every minor inconvenience in a woman's life is a form of oppression, and I mean it's spreading to things like race and sexual orientation and transgendered people and all of that. These sort of the microaggression, right? You know, there is some basis to the idea that having a sister, growing up with an older sister 6 years older than me, who was the queen, she was the expert at the quiet, cutting remark that nobody at the table but you would realize was an insult or a dig, right? It was just a very polite remark that went over everybody else's heads except the person it was targeted at, right? And she was brilliant at that. I can understand the idea that, you know, microaggressions, they pile up. But you know, honestly, if this is what the animosity, the animus between the races is microaggressions, we're doing pretty good. If this is what the animus between the genders are, after 150 years of gender warfare, 150 years of character assassination by feminists against men, right? I think we're doing, you know, microaggressions, I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. We are in the home stretch, and then maybe we could take some mail.
Yeah, there's half a paragraph left. And I basically the conclusion she's come to is there's no such thing as a men's rights activist. If anyone talks to you about circumcision or domestic abuse or paternity rights, they are not talking about these things. They are in fact trying to beat women down and pretending that these issues exist. So I'll go into it in the last half paragraph. There is no core of good intentions underneath the trolling. They're not fighting for men's well-being. That's just the cover story for the real agenda, which is fighting women's equality and making it impossible to speak out for women without having to withstand a torrent of abuse. The women's role is to spew the most vile misogyny because they can hide behind their gender to deny what's really going on.
Okay, Amanda, this is just dumb. How could anyone hide behind their gender? How could
in order to get away with bad stuff? How can that doesn't happen, Amanda? No woman could hide behind her gender in order to get away with doing bad things. Amanda,
sounds like a privilege here. Sounds like you're identified a privilege. And it's so funny because you think I've been motivated for 15 years, specifically about trying to bring whatever attention I can to men and boys who are victims of rape, and women and girls who are victims of rape by the rapists who shall not be named, who can never be identified. And
Gladys? Is it Gladys?
Yeah, it's Gladys.
Okay.
Gladys is a really she's a really hardworking rapist. But
yeah.
Anyway, but so I've done this for 15 years, but at the core, my core, the very deepest part of me, Karen, is a black, crispy, charcoaly troll who's only in it to silence women.
Is there barbecue sauce? Because I actually like my meat cooked really, really black and crispy.
That's horrible. This fuck. Yeah, my God. How could you do that to a piece of meat?
What? No, not steak. Steak is one thing. Pork chops are one thing. When it comes to like things that are barbecued, I like them really, really seared.
Okay, well,
they can be raw in the middle, just really seared.
Oh, yeah, all right. Okay, you just salvaged our friendship, because you know what? If you were all about like totally taking a piece of meat,
and turning it into shoe leather,
turkey,
no.
There's nothing there. No, that's
nothing
it.
To salvage. Nothing.
You're dead to me.
Yeah, we're done here, bitch.
No.
Yeah, no, I would never do that. I was a professional cook. I used to weep. I used to get orders for filet mignon extra well done, and I would cry. I would cry as I was cooking it.
Mm-hmm.
Extra, not just well done, extra well done.
What? Why?
Because they're Philistines, Allison, and their mothers cook that way, and they don't know any better.
God.
And sometimes you can reach them. Sometimes you can reach them, and you can say, you know what? The prime rib is better if there's a little pink in it, and you can work them down to medium well. And then you can work them down to medium. And then after 6 months of them coming in every Friday for prime rib, you've worked them down to medium rare, and they're much happier.
How can you
And they're like,
that?
I never realized meat could taste like this.
That's actually good. Like, actually, there's flavor in it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to chew
and,
it.
And juices.
So much. You just have to tear off a hunk and swallow it whole like a snake.
Mm-hmm. There's flavor and there's juices and it's not just like dust.
Yeah. I think we were talking about Amanda though.
Oh wait. Yeah, we were. And we were talking about your crispy blackened soul.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and how like it's none of my motivation is about
nothing altruistic.
Yeah,
nothing altruistic.
Nothing altruistic at all. Right. And I will admit my motivations have changed over the years that I've been doing this. And I describe myself primarily as anti-feminist, but that is also an altruistic description, because if our society is living under a collective delusion that hurts everybody, and we're making laws and policies based on this collective delusion, then me waking people up to realize, and helping them realize that the delusion is not reality. That's actually a service. That's a service toward the human good, toward everybody, not just boys and men, but girls and women.
In my case, I also feel like personally, and my own personal interest in this is I have a far greater interest in the engineering question of how to get the boulders the fuck off men than I have in the microscopic properties of peas. So it's like I'm not really interested in trying to find a pea under every mattress.
No.
It's like the most boring. I mean, sitting there and talking about how everything in my life oppresses me.
No,
it sounds like a pain. It's like, what? No, I don't want to do that. It's depressing. It sounds like it's like everything in my life is something external pressing down upon me. I can't define myself in terms of how I respond to external events to work them towards a goal that I have chosen for myself. I can't do that. I have to just,
define yourself as the leaf blown on the wind toward the stream, carried on the current, and then some frog jumps on it and breaks it into pieces. That's what you are. You're just the leaf on the current, going where external forces send you. You have no autonomy, Allison. You have no agency. You have no choices. And if you have choices, you're oppressed by those choices, because those choices make your life more difficult. Because then you have to decide, right, between one choice and another, and that makes things that's hard to do, and it's emotionally upsetting, and so because you never know whether you've made the right choice, and so that's an oppression too. So if you don't have choices, you're oppressed, and if you do have choices, you're oppressed. Whatever it is, it's misogyny. All roads lead to it. Just accept it, Allison. Accept it into your soul. Your soul will no longer be crisp and blackened. It will not be a piece of halibut with Cajun spice on it that's been seared at 475 degrees. No, it will be a beautiful, beautiful flower.
So if I finally
that will live for about 30 seconds before it begins to die.
So if I finally stop caring about people who are not me and start caring more about me,
no, I don't understand why you don't do that. Why do you care about people who are not you? There's only you, right? You're the center of the universe, Allison. Jesus.
See, when you treat
start reading more Amanda Marcotte.
When you treat other people like this, like you convince them that they're a victim, and you tell them, hey, there's a pea under your mattress. You'll never find it, but it's going to make it impossible for you to sleep. It's considered abuse. I mean, not always, obviously, but
it's gaslighting.
When you do it to someone else, at least a fair few people understand that that's abusive. But when you do it to yourself, it's like telling a child that there's a monster under your bed. That's abuse. No. That's child abuse. But if a woman does it to herself, insists there's a pee, it's like an adult.
Or if a woman
there's a monster under the bed. That's self-abuse, and you got to stop doing it.
If a woman does it to another woman, or if a man does it to a woman in the context of feminism, right, in the right way, right? Yes, there is a monster under your bed, and I will burn this entire house down just to slay that monster for you.
Or no, you have to actually agree with me, and you have to think exactly as I do, or the monster under your bed lady will get you.
Yeah, it's like it's just bizarre. It's essentially it really is like the like I would never have considered telling my kids that yes, the monster under the bed that they worry about is real, or the monster in the closet. No. And you don't like even when they're terrified at night, right? And you go to them, right? You're supposed to be, they're the child who has the irrational fear. You are the adult who knows better, right? You are supposed to say to them, right? You have nothing to worry about. You have nothing to worry about. There is no monster. Nobody's going to get you. Calm down. There's nothing to be upset about, right? Rather than saying, oh, I understand exactly why you're upset, and I understand how you could feel that way, and it's really, 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 like a lot of people, and throughout history, there were monsters under the beds, and, like...
Who the fuck does that to their kid?
Nobody!
Well, no, actually feminists do. Feminist women
actually get back to sleep that night.
Feminist women essentially tell their daughters, there's a monster under your bed, and if you get out of the fucking bed, it'll get you.
And there's a monsterarchy all over the world.
There's our monsterarchy all over the world. If you step out of line, it'll fucking get you. And then these are the people who, with a straight face, say they advocate for women.
Yeah.
And like I said, everyone, ask them, do you ever question if your feminist beliefs hurt women? They have absolutely no answer for that, because they never do.
Yeah, and I think we all know the answer to the question, do your feminist beliefs hurt men? Of course they do. I mean, I'm in the midst of writing my speech that I'm going to be giving on the 8th of November at Simon Fraser University for it's a co-sponsored event, Simon Fraser University's Advocacy for Men and Boys and Cafe. And it's on toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. And when you actually look at a whole bunch of the things that feminists attribute to toxic masculinity, they're things feminists not only perpetuate, but have entrenched in law and policy. Primary aggressor policies are toxic masculinity, according to everything that I've read about it. Right? So, the idea that that only men can rape, right? And that when women rape men, it's different, right? That's Mary Koss. That's a feminist rape expert, Mary Koss. It's just different when women force men to have sex. That's apparently toxic masculinity too.
Yeah, my Mac is currently giving me the rainbow ball of doom.
Uh-oh.
So I'm worried that something is about to. No, it looks like I can still access this. But yeah,
I can still hear you.
It's a given that feminism doesn't give a shit about men, but it obviously doesn't give a shit about women either.
No,
that's where they really their ass is exposed.
Or it gives so much shit that it's buried them under a landslide of shit.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, I mean, Amanda, I would rather be out fighting a landslide of boulders that are trying to crush men than being on my fucking bed whining about micro peas.
Yeah.
Covered in shit.
Yeah. Like I just, the life that you must live, no thank you. The life that feminists must live, Like it's just, it seems like the most horrible fucking, like, you don't need a patriarchy to oppress you. You're oppressing yourself.
Yeah.
Just fine. And
yeah, no, it's like I said, I can't even begin to imagine what it must be like to be somebody who is so consistently and sustainably miserable and bitter and hostile and hateful and angry.
And angry over everything.
Yeah.
Every minuscule pea that she can find or invent. And not even caring what that does to her life.
Yeah.
Or what that would do to the lives of the women that listen to this person.
Yeah.
It's like that you're just sitting in drawing increasingly smaller circles around your life. I mean, it's like watching someone. I mean, I've even seen it. Like, I've experienced this, except not in the context of feminism, in the context of a mental illness that was increasingly reducing my scope of freedom because more and more situations became terrifying or hostile.
Yeah.
And it was a horrible place to be. It was a prison of my own making, because it was a mental illness, and the process of extricating myself out of it was challenging all of that belief that you build up that these thoughts are outside of your control. I mean, true, when you build them up and they get triggered, you don't have immediate control over the panic attacks, but you do have control over the buildup, and you can learn to not do that.
Yeah.
Well, what they're doing is they are teaching themselves. They're building a mental illness into themselves that leads to a loss of life satisfaction. And it's like, I'm watching this, and they're pointing fingers at us and saying we have internalized misogyny.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we've refused to recognize the process of circumcising yourself mentally. That somehow, if we don't recognize all the victimhood that they recognize, that they get entrapped in, we become what?
Misogynists,
even self-hating, because we don't recognize all of these microaggressions, all of these tiny, tiny things as being something that it's crippling.
Well, as someone who grew up blue collar and who spent an entire 15-year marriage under the poverty line, you know, I really have to essentially say to myself, is it worth getting upset over? Is it really worth getting upset over this, over that? Or, do I just go along, right? Do I just go along with, this person made a joke, I'll make a joke back, right? Like, why would I be upset over somebody's attempt to relate to me by making a joke? Why would I not make a joke back?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why would something this small and this trivial, and frankly, I'm a big fan of some of the jokes that end up on the subreddit I'm going to hell for this, right? Dead baby jokes, Holocaust jokes, rape jokes, all kinds of jokes, right? I'm perfectly fine with them, right? There is not a joke that you could tell that I would find offensive, right?
Well,
why would I? Because when you make a joke about the Holocaust, you make a joke about dead babies, you make a joke about rape, you're taking something awful and you're turning it into the bully that had everybody in school living in terror, tripped over his shoelaces and ended up on the floor face down with his face planted in his tray, right? And now everybody's laughing at him.
Well, yeah. And I don't want us to laugh at these problems, because then we would not be fearful of them.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, what is it that feminism, what do you think you offer? Like
terror.
Yeah.
Like, no, listen. An integral part of rape culture is the endorsement and normalization of the sexual terrorization of women. Who's telling women that they have to be afraid of rape? Who's telling women that they're at high risk of rape? Who's telling women? Who's telling women that rape is around every corner? That any man,
rape dynamic,
any man could be your rapist.
It's not even rape anymore.
Who was the fucking second wave feminist who said that every woman's son is her own potential abuser and the potential rapist of another woman, right? Oh, I think that was Dworkin, right?
Yeah, but Karen, it's not even rape anymore. It's rape dynamic. You have to be afraid of rape dynamic, which is everywhere, in everything. And you want to live this life in terror of everyone and everything. And you're trying to sell this. How? Okay, feminists, women who are feminists, who agreed with this shit. What the hell made you agree with this? With this kind of a life? Because from where I'm looking, I'm watching a bunch of women. Like, have you ever seen those fur trades with the cats in the cages? It's horrible to look at. Or the dogs in the cages in China. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a bunch of eyes. These women staring up at me from a cage saying, you don't know what it's like to be free. I'm free. I don't have to move anything. Because I can't. I'm crammed into this cage with like 16 other women in a block the size of a sofa. And it's freedom. And I'm like, no, you are totally fucked up. You are so fucked up. Miranda Marcotte is so fucked up. She doesn't even know where the fuck up begins, where Amanda is and where the fuck up ends.
Yeah,
and it's what sold this to you as women? Yeah. What sold this to you? Because it's terrifying. It's fucking terrifying to look at. And I know I'm only talking about in terms of metaphor. But to look at the dimming eyes in these cages of these women, just not even able to move or think. All they can do is bleed out victimhood.
Oh man, when I was with Lauren Southern at the Edmonton Slut Walk, right? She was interviewing a feminist there who had her sandwich board on, and she was ready to go, and Lauren asked her, what makes you believe that there's a rape culture? I don't see a rape culture. I don't believe that there's a rape culture in the West. And essentially the extent of the response was, of course, rape culture is all around it. Anyone could see it. Okay. Rape culture is all around us. Anyone could see it.
It's like
that's like God, right?
No, it's like feminism has plucked out their eyes so that feminism can show them the eternal darkness of the world.
Well, it's essentially it's a faith-based. That's the response of a Christian who says God is all around us.
Do you want to see the eternal darkness of the world? We can show you. Feminism can show you the eternal darkness.
Then finally, she said something, and this didn't make it into the footage. I was standing sort of to the back, a little ways away. She said, "Well, if you look at what the conviction rate for rape is, it's just very blah blah blah, and some men get away with rape, and so that's part of rape culture." And I'm like, yeah, due process is part of rape culture. Presumption of innocence is part of rape culture. The cornerstones of our Western legal system, that's all part of rape culture.
Fundamental freedoms.
Yeah.
Rape culture. That's not going to go anywhere bad. Not at all. Freedom of speech is rape culture.
It didn't go anywhere bad in the 1920s. Let me tell you, all of those black men deserve to swing, and all the Irish ones, and all the Italian ones.
Well, no, but it's just like they're going after freedom of speech now. That's part of rape culture.
Yes.
Free speech. No, that's rape culture.
Well, and it's a victimization of women, even if it's not rape culture, even if it even upsets a woman for any reason whatsoever. I'm going to kill my dog. you essentially have it be, you know, like we need to get rid of it because it upsets women. When people say certain things, it's upsetting to some women, so therefore everybody's freedom of speech should be curtailed.
Yeah, and something is upsetting to your dog.
Yeah, because my dog is a moron. I think it's the mailman.
It's like, but it's sort of sinister. It's like feminism says, you know, there's eternal darkness in the world. That's what I was muttering to myself. Feminism tells the women, the world is eternally dark. Here, let me take your eyes, and I'll show you how dark it is. Let me just pluck them out of your head, and you'll see it.
Or pour bleach into them.
And pour bleach into them.
Yeah.
Or acid. We'll pour acid into them, and you'll see how eternally dark the world is. All hail feminism.
It's an awful abusive dynamic. It's a horribly abusive dynamic. I'm so.
But it's the truth, right? All these feminist women.
Oh
yeah. I think their eyes have been plucked out, so they see so much better than we do.
Yeah, and they're truth tellers.
Darkness.
After all, I've on numerous occasions said that everybody needs to be abusive or suffer abuse in order to be able to get turned on. I totally said that. Everybody needs that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what?
According to Amanda Marcotte, that's what I said. So that's the end of it. That's
but according to Amanda Marcotte, we don't really care about men's issues. We just care about silencing women.
Yeah,
at least the women that tell us that the world is eternally dark because they plucked out their own fucking eyes. All right. Okay. It's not okay, but we got to the end, and I'm worried about this spiraling rainbow of doom because it usually means that something's crashing, and we might as well end the show before my computer. Oh, by the way, that's patriarchal. It's obviously my computer's. That's a patriarchal macroaggression.
It's part of the conspiracy, Allison.
Oh yeah, the conspiracy to silence women like us. I thought we would not be silenced. We would be encouraged to speak, which is really funny because I don't feel like I have the resources of an entire patriarchy behind. I mean, do you feel like that, Karen?
Honestly, I have like a dearth of resources behind me right now. So
what does dearth mean? Is that lack?
Yeah, it's like a complete, like there's nothing there. There's like.
And you think that since we're both going with the patriarchy, supposedly going with the grain, not going against the current, but with the current, with the status quo, we would have articles in magazines. Like
and I would have like at least as much money, probably 10 times as much money per month as that feminist who runs the battered women's shelter, down the road.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think that if we were saying the status quo, we'd be a little more status quo. Anyway, if you enjoy what we have to say and you wish to continue to help us, wait, Mike, do you have anything, or are you just off on your own?
Also, if you don't want me to be like totally poor for the next 2 months, if you could throw a little love my way, because I have to go to this to the Students for Liberty conference at Simon Fraser University, and also the speak at the Advocacy for Men and Boys Society at Simon Fraser University, which is also going to be co-sponsored by Cafe, and do a meetup at Mahoney and Sons restaurant, the same really, really difficult place to get to as Gamergate in BC. On the 6th of November, I have to drive out there, and they are not covering any of my expenses because they are not in a position to be able to do that. So if anybody wants to throw a little love my way to make it a little bit easier to recover from this drive out to BC and then driving back and all of the expenses that I will incur, I would really, really I would be so thankful and so grateful if you could do that. If not, I will manage. So.
Yeah. Okay, you know, like Karen needs her gold-plated jetliner.
I do. You know what? I'm pissed off that I don't get to ride in Air Force One.
Yeah, well, why not? I mean, we are the handmaidens of the patriarchy.
Yes.
Why is
handmaids of
it?
the
Why is it
patriarchy.
Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian at the UK, or not UK,
UN. Yeah.
Why are they there? Why aren't we? We're supposed to be the handmaidens of the fucking patriarchy. We're supposed to be the status quo. We're the ones that are saying that women are damsels and men were going to save them. And that's wait.
Yeah.
No, wait, we don't say that.
Yeah. No.
No, we say that men are vulnerable. That is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
most. Obviously, that is the easiest sell in the full fucking world. It's
Yep.
like no, men don't actually aren't invested in this idea of being powerful and omnipotent and macho and strong. They're not invested in that at all, right,
Yeah.
Amanda? Not invested in it all.
Yeah. He
They
for
want to be
she.
told.
He for she.
This what? Okay, you know what? Good night, people.
All right.
My patriarchal oppressor is making me pumpkin pie. I'm gonna enjoy
Excellent.
some pumpkin pie. Okay.
Fucking bitch.
What?